plus sequels. You gotta love them, right? I mean, it's like binding two huge things together to create an even bigger story, or to perhaps delve deeper into the lore and backstories of certain characters, or even to allow the writers freedom of thoughts and creative input to give us something new and fresh. Take a cigarette for instance. You need nicotine and tar, and without any one of these elements it just wouldn't work, right? And by wouldn't work I mean it wouldn't give you
death.
Well, you know what they say, the higher the risk, the better the payoff, and that's why dumb people do drugs and greedy corporate bastards went for Mean Girls too. The original Mean Girls was iconic for a reason. Sure, if you were to rewatch it, there are glaring patterns of stereotypes and cliches that died a long time ago, but the way they executed each one of those elements really does hold up till today. Rewatching it a couple of weeks ago, I was quite astonished at how funny it was. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched a movie or a TV show that's made me laugh till the point where I started crying. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have Mean Girls too. It's like your little retarded brother that was somehow born, right? I mean, the idea of swallowing a grenade or probably getting shot in the nutsack doesn't seem like such a bad alternative. They followed the exact same storyline, maybe changing a thing or two because, plagiarism and all that stuff, right? But they somehow made every microscopic detail that they added in much worse. So over here on my highly successful channel, where I'm only 100 million subs away from PewDiePie, I know, pretty close, right? So usually I do a quick review, I tell you guys how good or bad a movie is. Today I'm doing things differently. I am gonna show you the world,
shining, shimmering, splendid.
So what you want to do is select this option.
So as I was saying, I'm going to show you why Mean Girls 2 is one of the most horrifyingly repulsive movies that has ever been made. And the people that worked on this project, the actors, the actresses, the writers, and especially the directors, are utter disgraces in the filmmaking industry. I mean, I don't think any of them have a career after this movie, because the amount of passion or lack thereof is quite evident.
Mandy, oh my god, someone has a better parking space than us.
So this isn't airplane mode bad, right? You could still sit through it, without having to insert a couple of butter knives into your cornea or smash your monitor each time Lele Pons attempts to be funny.
If we scream loud enough, it might be funny.
Now, believe it or not, I'm a pretty positive guy and I like to see the good in even the worst of things, and I'm glad to say that this is one of those movies where it's so bad that it's good, that you can actually enjoy how vastly stupid and moronic it is. The fact that they inserted the number 2 into their title means it's a sequel, right? Wrong, bitch. We get a whole new cast of people who clearly didn't want to be here.
Oh, gross. But now you see why it was so easy for Mandy to...
So the only returning member here is the principal, and he was pretty good in the original, but unfortunately over here, not very good, not much screen time, and just the material that they gave him doesn't do him any justice. So yeah, unfortunate. So we kick off with a little narration, terribly done of course, and we're introduced to our main character, and she's in this room with some old dude, and he just offers her a bunch of money with blurry context. And what am I to assume at this point? Is something illegal about to happen? I think I'd rather not find out. So we're also introduced to the main character's dad, and yeah, he starts off very enthusiastically.
It's the big day, the qualifying race of the Indy 500. She takes her position.
This is my dad.
Revs the motor of her stock car, hoping...
Just go back to Teen Wolf. Okay, so not a very good start, but let's meet the Mean Girls.
And then there's the most dangerous vehicle on the road. The high-performance, high-maintenance sports cars. If they liked you, your life was all green lights. If they didn't, you...
Whoa. Hold up. What is she wearing? I mean, that's something my grandma wears to bed. Yo, where the fashion police at?
She looks like an Atlantic City hooker who got a sewing machine for one of her Johns and no lessons. I mean,
So I think from this opening, narration, the only good line or the only good line throughout the movie is probably
uber hypochondriac who believed that germs led to ugliness and ugliness led to death.
As someone who grew up watching literally every American high school movie ever made, I was always fascinated with some of the crazy things that students can literally get away with. I honestly don't know if this is a movie thing or this is exactly how the American school system truly is. From dressing to the way you want, to school lunches that are semi-decent and doesn't give you food poisoning on a daily basis. And wait, what? You Americans can actually bring your dog to school? You know what, guys? I'm transferring, right? Like, I am literally transferring schools right now, okay? Peace out. So somebody decides to sabotage Grandma Mean Girl's handbag, and Abby, who's this main girl's best friend, has an interesting exchange of dialogue.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm really sorry, Mandy. I'll buy you another purse. Or you can just have mine.
Is that what I think it is?
Duck. I love ducks. It's the Prada Fringe purse. My dad got it for me last month, but I told him...
Last month?
Last month? Ugh, freaking poor people. You disgust me. Wait, is that a Coca-Cola cherry flavor? You Americans are crazy. And yes, they clearly got sponsored by Coke, because in every other scene, you always see a Coke can, whether it's regular Coke, Coke cherry, cocaine, Coke Zero, Coke...
残りは重要ではありません。
So we jump forward a few scenes. We see Abby parking in the disabled spot cause she somehow sprained her ankle after slipping on her handbag. Yes, that happened. So Grandma Mean Girl gets super pissed and she says this.
This is war.
Oh no. This is war. Unless you're a 5-year-old girl at this point, you're probably unconvinced that these girls are the mean girls. They just look like the cheap-ass China version of the original. And at least they finally do something mean. Oops. Kids in Africa could have eaten that. God damn it. Yo, these high school kids are absolute savages because they literally start paintballing a Porsche. Like, over here in my country, that's essentially called shit. That's called a felony, and you could actually face legal charges. I mean, like, damn, somebody needs to take control of these kids. So the main chick gives Abby a ride home, and what the hell? Why does a golf cart have a better spot than the Mercedes? And yes, it is indeed a concern.
Abby? Honey, what's wrong?
So notice how she runs up the stairs even after spraining her ankle and even parking in the disabled parking spot. I mean, what a freaking douchebag. Like, Abby.
You stupid lying cunt.
Yeah, so we jump back to the opening scene with more context this time, and thankfully nothing of illegal nature took place. This old dude is Abby's dad and he has a little proposal for us.
She needs you, we need you, and we're willing to pay.
What?
For you to be her friend. 2, 3, 4,000 to get you started.
You're crazy.
You know what, Abby? Maybe I do feel kind of sorry for you, because even your own dad has the utmost lowest expectation for your social life, to the point where he has to give
4,000 to get you started.
to become your friend.
Oh, you're too much!
You know, the whole situation doesn't make much sense, because Abby seems like a perfectly normal human being. She's nice, she's rich, and I'm kind of surprised that she has no friends that are just friends with her to take advantage of her money. So I think that's where the writers clearly didn't know what they were doing, because if they at least made her repulsive in some sort of way, like maybe she has bad hygiene or a bad sense of fashion, or I don't know, is kinda ugly, I guess that would make her somewhat repulsive, and it would make sense that people don't want to be friends with her. But she's Abby, she's fine. I mean, if someone forced you to be friends with me and you don't want to, that's understandable, but this girl seems perfectly normal, as I said. Yeah, so basically the whole subplot of her dad offering money to the main girl to be friends with Abby just falls apart. So remember the early days of social media where people posted some of the most cringiest garbage and updated their status with some of the most ridiculous things that nobody literally cares about? But anyways, let's look at what Grandma Mean Girl posted on her status. Don't mess with awesome. I'm definitely gonna update my status to that. This movie is real, guys. So you can fight me on this, but what made the original Mean Girls special wasn't Lindsay Lohan. Sure, she was fine. I liked her. Everyone likes her. But who really stood out was Rachel McAdams as Regina George. I mean, everything that came out of her mouth was funny. It was geniusly written. And she just gave a performance with, full of passion, and she clearly indicated to all of us that she was on board with the script, she was on board with the other cast, and she really wanted to be here. So you guys remember the scene where she found out that she was eating this protein bar that actually was some sort of mass gainer that made you put on weight?
Why are you eating a protein bar?
I'm starving.
Man, I hate those things. Coach Carr makes us eat those when we want to move up a weight class.
What?
They make you gain weight like crazy.
Mother... This girl is the nastiest skank bitch I've ever met.
The big difference in Mean Girls 2 is that every single person on board just didn't want to be here. They were unconvincing, they didn't fit in, it looked like they didn't like the material that they were given, and that was ultimately the reason why this movie fell apart in the first place. Just look at the way how Grandma Mean Girl delivers her lines.
Mandy, can I get a quote from you on the school play or the lacrosse team or just like anything?
God,
really?
I'm not up for the paparazzi this morning.
Yeah, so we jump back to the main story where the Mean Girls approach the main chick and they kind of ask her to hang out, and they just get absolutely burned.
We only use skinny and sweet. It's like cellulite in a strap without the cellulite.
As scientifically interesting as that sounds, I'll have to pass.
Oh, it wasn't a question.
Oops. Guess I answered anyway.
You're done, bitch. Get out of here. She then gets upset when the protagonist hangs out with Abby, and here we go again, wasting another perfectly innocent, skinny, non-fat mocha with whipped cream. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you guys? The Mean Girls are mad now, so they head over to the main protagonist's house. And how do they know the location of said house? Who knows, but they do something mean, I guess. So they literally try to do a sneak 100 with their loud ass heels, and somehow that man doesn't hear them. Yeah, so they glue her ass to the bike and she just rides into the school bathroom. I wish I went to an American school. Okay, so I found this next scene quite amusing because it's supposed to be this typical slow motion take of that hot guy taking off his shirt. So sexy, and then he just misses the mark while trying to get wet.
Joe, you can't. It'd be a big mistake.
Or not.
You don't know who he is.
He's my shop partner, and I've seen him without a shirt.
Yeah, boy.
Awkward kissing scene, clearly indicating both parties weren't comfortable with this, and their chemistry, or lack thereof, is quite evident and pretty enjoyable to watch.
God, Nick, up! And give me your car keys. What the hell happened? God, Nick, go do something.
You know, the one thing that I've noticed upon rewatching this movie is that they do quite a bit of one take singular angle shots. Now usually I would be impressed by that because it does take a certain degree of talent, but in this case it's pretty blatant that they had a lack of budget explaining the singular angles, a lack of time explaining why the editors are lazy bastards, and a clear lack of talent. And I really don't need to explain that because it's evident throughout the whole 93 minutes.
My gosh, is that a friend?
So our protagonist goes on their little date, and someone please explain to me who took these pictures. And keep in mind, they went on the date alone. It was just the two of them, nobody third wheeled along. So who the hell took the pictures? Casper the friendly ghost?
Can I join your friendship club?
Hey guys, I'm kind of bored. Can we have a random flipping cheerleader? Thank you. So grandma just so happened to record their conversation during the date, and the main chick gets exposed as being a virgin.
Joe Mitchell is a virgin.
What are you, 16, 17 and still a virgin? Girl, KYS. KYS. So boyfriend gets really mad and upset that protagonist is in a bad situation, and then he gets into an altercation. So please enjoy the scene.
You dick! You bugged the car!
Come on, man. I thought it was
Don't you turn your back on me, Nick. What are you gonna do, Tyler? You're gonna hit your best friend?
Break it up!
And the Oscar goes to
Diego Boneta.
So it's not really the terrible acting or the writing or the shitty directing that pissed me off. It's the worst possible choice of background music that they have in every scene. It is literally AIDS.
Point I could get to qualify for the scholarship.
Boiled egg.
What's the matter with you?
Like, what is that shit? Alright, so the mean girls decide to do another sabotage, and this time they want to put some coffee into the main protagonist's dad's car. And can someone explain this to me? Why is it that they need to put this sort of skinny whatever sugar into the gas tank before pouring in the coffee? I have a functional brain, and I'm pretty sure any other liquid than petrol that enters into your gas tank would kill your engine instantly. Yeah guys, let's make sure the car enjoys a nice cup of sweetened coffee before it dies. Yeah, so essentially they commit yet another felony, and don't worry kids, your parents nag you for no reason whatsoever. Consequences unreal. So turns out the hot guy is the grandma mean girl's stepbrother, and he confronts her and says something that is actually really deep.
You're only happy when making others miserable. But high school will end, Mandy. And then what will you have left?
Damn, bruh.
Stand down, Captain Rogers. Stand down. Repeat.
Alright, so I'm pretty tired at this point, so let's just jump forward to the party scene because it's a high school movie. Of course it's gonna have a party scene, guys. Look at this weirdo right here. What is he doing? Mate, this isn't the early 2000s where you just approach any girl that you like and randomly start pop rocking. Today, that's called I'm gonna file a sexual harassment lawsuit. We also have this dainty looking boy dancing with a plant. Can someone please give him a cheeseburger? This kid kinda reminds me of what Alie would look like if it was the early 2000s, since every white boy was rocking that mop hair. So our main protagonist attempts to get revenge on one of the mean girls by putting some sort of green paint into her seaweed face mask or something, and Grandma Mean Girl said something that absolutely triggered me.
You didn't pick me up. I had to ride my Schwinn. I don't pick up ogres.
How dare you? What happened to equal rights? How dare you pile on your negative hate towards one of the most oppressed groups of people or creatures? I mean, after all he's been through. You absolutely disgust me. You know what? Maybe you are a mean girl, fucking bitch. Alright guys, it's time for attempted humor. Don't you just love how he turns on the camera, but on the TV it's another camera recording the camera record him? Hashtag laziness 100. This is a whole new level of pathetic. Guys, look, as someone who has been doing light editing for over a year now, trust me, it is literally the easiest thing. I mean, usually I use a singular camera angle, but sometimes when I'm doing like my mini skits or something, I use my phone as a different source of a camera angle, and all you have to do is literally plug in your phone into your laptop, transfer the footage, and then just put it into the editor that you're using. It is so simple, and at the very max, it takes just 5 minutes to do it. It is that simple, and these guys are paid editors. This is absolutely disgusting, and the worst part is they even do it in future scenes, and yes, I will cover that later on, so stay tuned. You know what? Let's just go to the most emotional scene in the movie.
No, you just sold out your friends for free.
Oh, what? Like you sold me out?
Stop fighting.
God, I trusted you.
Yeah,
You know what? You could have helped.
I just care so much
wish I'd never even met
about the both of you. So in an attempt to further take down the protagonist, Grandma steals the homecoming dancer's money to frame her, and make sure you guys remember this very realistic, clearly not drawn by marker pens tattoo. So our main protagonist gets expelled, but she's somehow allowed to host a football game challenging the mean girls.
So we're gonna settle this like men. On the battlefield.
Oh, please.
That's right. I challenge you to a football game.
Yeah, I'm backing. I'm transferring to an American school.
The only way you're gonna become queen is by default.
Did someone say default? Yeah, so like 23 seconds later, all her friends sort of forgive her, and we get this iconic lawn scene. It is truly a thing of beauty. Enjoy.
We haven't forgiven you yet.
Not even close.
But we can't let you take the fall for Mandy.
That's right. We've got your back.
Mandy's going down. Mandy's going down. Mandy's going down.
Mandy's going down. Honestly, the level of acting is on par with Viola Davis's performance in How to Get Away with Murder.
I am sorry, Senator, if you do not have the time to answer for who bore the real cost of your development.
Objection!
Not just Tricia Stanley and her boyfriend David Allen, who served 21 years in prison.
Your Honor, please.
For the thousands who were displaced in the name of lining your pockets. The majority whom were poor, powerless, and didn't bear the color of skin desirable to your business interests. You tore a community apart. You tore families apart. You destroyed lives, Senator. Admit it. Admit you killed Tricia Stanley and had my client David Allen set up for her murder.
That is
Absolutely impressive. I mean, like, they also tried their best to hide the Apple logo, but failed miserably. God damn it guys, you're making it too easy for me. So Grandma starts recruiting some people on her team, and on paper it's looking pretty good. And they give us the shittiest montage for our protagonist preparing, and honestly at this point, I want them to lose.
But we weren't backing down. Got it? Yes, sir!
Yeah, could you just draw up some random crap on the blackboard and then just turn around really quickly and say, got it guys? Because we don't have much time and budget, so we're doing this in one take, so make sure you do your best. And even if you don't, we'll still use the footage. Okay, so the football scene was something I was kind of looking forward to when I watched this movie the first time round, because I honestly thought it just couldn't get any worse, and a sporting event has it has a lot of room, it has a lot of elements that can be added to make it humorous or entertaining. But boy oh boy was I wrong. I wouldn't even use this football scene to torture my worst enemies, and honestly, when you die and go to hell, and yes, you are going to hell, this is what Satan is going to play for you over and over again as he pins you down on the chair and opens up your eyelids permanently. It is cut together in the most abominable way possible. But hold up guys, let me just pray for a second.
Football is a religion, and you are now in church. Do not disgrace this field. We'll play by playground rules. Fumbles that hit the ground are live balls. 4 downs and out. No punts, no extra points, and a touchdown is 7 points. Get it?
Amen. Look, I've never seen a game of American football ever, but I'm pretty sure that this is not it.
Time for D&D.
Ooh, dirty dancing?
Not dirty dancing, you slut. Obviously she means Dungeons and Dragons.
We'll just call the girls afterwards.
I said forget it, Mike, okay?
Can someone please go and play with Will? That poor boy. So I love that they're kind of halfway through the game and I don't see an ounce of sweat or slightly damped hair.
It's rubber, plastic, drive, shit.
So Ali A manages to hack the CCTV footage.
Joe, I did it. I did it.
Look, he did it.
He did what?
Yeah.
Revealing that it was in fact Grandma and her boyfriend who framed the main protagonist, and they couldn't give two hoots about creating some new footage and just reuse the exact same shot again. So we finally get to the climax of the football scene, and yes, it is truly glorious. Grandma gets arrested, cliched homecoming dance ending, and I honestly don't know what they were thinking with this shitty 10 frames per second take. Please get this shit out of here. If you haven't seen it yet, it's only good for one use. It's like a disposable toothbrush or a razor blade or your axe. Just use it once and then toss it in the trash immediately. So now that I've got that out of the way, we're approaching the month of October, which is my personal favorite month, and I'm gonna try and review as many Halloween movies as I can. And yes, I'm gonna review the most terrible ones because that's what I'm good at, bullying and picking apart shitty movies, and I'm pretty sure you guys enjoy that as well. And